Hey, I was just thinking about something, and I wanted to quickly express that. Um, I wanted to say that, you know, I'm really familiar with the way that people handle people that have been in abusive relationships. Uh, I'm also familiar with the way people handle, like school teachers and parents handle children that do not um, that are not diligently keeping up with their studies in school and maybe falling behind. And in both those cases, I've found that the protocol for pretty much everybody is kind of the gut instinct that we all have is to add pressure to those people. So, for instance, like a woman that's been a victim of domestic violence, it's like the minute she steps out of that relationship, the message that she gets from pretty much everyone is hurry up and stop being a victim. And sometimes you just want to say, excuse me, I've been a victim for about 10 minutes, so if you could just kind of shut up and leave me alone for a while, maybe I'll figure this out, and you're not helping. But no matter what, and then you basically, I think that every woman that steps out of an abusive marriage is on her own. And she knows that this is going to be the case, and that's part of the reason why it takes her so long to get out. You've been demoralized, you've been isolated, you are emotionally dysregulated, you don't have any friends, you don't have any money, you don't have a job, and you're crippled because this has taken a toll on your body, and yet you're supposed to walk away and blissfully start a new life. And I just find it's another level of arrogance, let's say, for the psychotherapy community and just people in general and anyone that comes in contact with this woman, and their whole message to her the whole time, from 10 minutes after she steps out of the marriage to a year later when she's still struggling, their whole message is, why are you still a victim? Do you just enjoy playing the victim? Victimhood isn't the only thing in the world. You could try something else. This is the thing that you get bombarded with. And it's just pressure. And the thing is, when you've been in this kind of relationship, you've been pressurized for 25 years or for 10 years or for however long. You have been pressurized in this marriage. That's what it's about, pressure. And, you've been trained to only think of the biggest, largest thing in the room, which is the abuser. You've been trained to only see him. And so your whole world is wrapped around him, and all of the cables coming out of you are plugged into him. And you have 1,000 cables coming out of yourself, and they're all plugged into him. And then people tell you things like, oh, you're emotional, what did they say? These, you guys, it never ends. But one of the culprits in this are people that call themselves attachment-centered therapists. And they are the people that really enjoy making money, because a lot of people will buy into this. Attachment problems are only one of the 5 categories of problems you can have from your childhood, and all of them are correctable, but you have to do it in a certain way with certain people, and a lot of patience has to happen on your part to not push yourself and to not try to expedite the process, because it can't be expedited. What it is it's a process of reconnecting yourself to the outside world, because you've been trained to be a certain way in a relationship. You've been trained by a very selfish, self-involved, arrogant, entitled jerk. You've been trained by him to take a certain shape in the relationship. Even your breathing took that shape. Everything about you took that shape. Your life took that shape. So now you've been shaped into a puzzle piece that fits in there. And you walk away and you're like a puzzle piece without a puzzle, really. And you're floundering around for a while, and you don't even understand why you're in that shape, because you used to be in a different shape before you were in that relationship. And now you're in this shape and nothing makes sense. And everything is hard to connect to. And you feel alone. And you're walking down this path, trying to get your bearings, trying to reconnect. But things are happening, problems are happening. Like every time someone honks, you fall on the ground because you now are very highly strung. And there's nothing to do but wait for these things to fall back into place. Fascia is an interesting part of the body. And the reason I bring this in is because fascia is another thing that takes a while. It's a slow moving force, fascia. When you're pregnant, your fascia is gradually stretching to hold your baby up. It doesn't fall down. You're holding it up. That's amazing. But when you have that baby, your fascia is now hanging. And that's when people who are obsessed with their looks say things like, oh my God, should I get surgery? Or you try in some way to make it so that you don't have this hanging thing. Well, guess what? You won't have that for more than a year. It's going to take about a year for the fascia to slowly go back. And it's the same for a woman that's left a relationship that's damaged her. She's damaged now. And she has to figure out a way to not be damaged. And you're not helping if you put pressure. And so many people put pressure. My best friend put one of my 4 best friends. I'm so lucky. I have many best friends, but even she put pressure on me. And there's always, besides dealing with the pressure, there's always things that are happening. And so when she put pressure on me, my father was dying. And that was taking up a good part of my mind and my life. And I just couldn't believe that someone was pushing pressure on me. It was like a year. It was a year after. And people think that they know better than you do. Well, you've spent long enough in victim mode. Let's try something else. That doesn't help. Do you understand why that doesn't help? It can't help. And I know you're trying to be helpful, but you're not being helpful. The best thing you can do is just be a friend and let them slowly, the slow moving force of the person getting their bearings in the world again and planting their feet on the ground again and finding a few friends that like you, like her. She's finding a few friends that like her, because probably a lot of the friends she had in the marriage are siding with him because all of the abuse he did behind closed doors. So nobody knows about it. All they know is that you're emotionally dysregulated and you're probably crazy, like he says. He's been saying you're crazy for 20 years. And now people are starting to go, he might be right. She certainly does look crazy. But they didn't see the part where someone was screaming in your face with their finger pointed an inch away from your eyeball for 25 years. They didn't see that part. That's the reason you're emotionally dysregulated. And I would really encourage people that find themselves in this situation with these men to not wait to leave, because I didn't believe what I'm saying to you right now. I did not believe it when people said it to me, because I thought, well, but I know him and he's really a decent guy. He's a great guy. He's the greatest guy I've ever met, and I love him. And love can solve a lot of things. And you're right, it can. But not this. And I didn't believe it. I did not believe that that they were right when they said you got to leave because it's not going to change. I thought, but how do you know it won't change? You can't predict the future, and you're not him and you're not me. You don't know us. I mean, we could be a great couple. That's what I said a lot of. We could be a great couple. And that's true. We could be a great couple if he could grow up. But some people, and I'll tell you what, a lot of people these days get stuck at a certain point in their childhood. It could be at the point where attachment is happening. It could be at the point where autonomy is happening. It could be at the point where other things are getting developed, like sex and love. There's a kind of a guy that cannot feel love at the same time he's having sex. And in other words, if he might feel love and then marry that woman, and then he loses interest in sex because now he's feeling love. He can't feel both at the same time. That's another thing that can happen in childhood. There's a person. There's also trust. There's a kind of man and probably woman. I don't know them, but I know they exist. I just can't talk about that because I don't know any of them. So I'll leave you to talk about that if that's what you know about. But there's a certain man that can't trust. So they start campaigns like Make Women Great Again, because what they want to bring back the 50s. They want men to rule and women to drool. And they always have to win. And they are in competition with you. If you marry them, they will make you be quiet all the time, and you are not allowed to have an opinion of your own. And every nanosecond of your life has to be carefully managed to make sure it's okay with him. And you can't achieve anything because achievement is out of the question. You might outshine him after all, and he cannot be outshined because then he wouldn't win. I mean, these kind of men are so damaged. And now that I know what I know as a somatic therapist, I would even venture to say they are incapable of having a relationship. You cannot have a relationship with that. So if that's the relationship that you have, I'm telling you, as someone who's been there, as someone that did not believe what anyone said to me, and I wrote it out for 25 years, you cannot have a relationship with this person and be a whole person. You will be a doormat. This is a doormat training. That's all. He's got you in doormat training, and you will not win. You will either come out a zombie, an obedient zombie, or like a doll, a blow-up doll, like a living blow-up doll with no mind of her own, or you will leave. Those are your choices. Get real. And I know it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt to leave. You're not going to find anybody that understands. People are going to try to whisk you out of victim mode as soon as possible. They're going to claim that you're playing the victim. I want you to ignore all of them. Ignore them. Do not get involved with any attachment-centered therapists or anybody that is making money from, God. Okay, I have nothing against money, but I know some people. I know a particular person that makes a crap load of money off of keeping people in this space of never healing, because their whole world is now, about attachment theory. It has its place, but it's a smaller place within the whole. Look at the whole picture. Do not look at these micro pictures that are going on, because they will just distract you. And if you find yourself in a relationship like this, find people that understand. There has to be a few people in the world that understand. Many times therapists don't understand. They're just like, why are you still playing the victim? Should we try something else? Did you learn how to be a victim from your mother, maybe? None of that is true. The truth is, you have been run over by a train 50 times, and you are almost dead. And you need to revive yourself, and you need to learn to survive, and you need to learn to put one foot in front of the other. You need to learn to be your own advocate. You need to learn to be a provider, not a beggar. And you're a beggar right now, but you're going to be a provider. You have to keep that in your mind, that is a goal. And you have to get a handle on the anxiety and panic. And I did it with supplements. I don't like these drugs. After being a therapist for 35 years, I've seen what these drugs do to people, and you cannot get off them once you get on. Don't back yourself into a corner. Don't go up a road it's a one-way road and you can't go back. Don't do that. It's pretty important. Anyway, so I started out talking about pressure, and it's just, to me, it needed to be said, because this is something that people do all the time. It doesn't matter if you've been out for 10 minutes or if you've been out for a year. They're just always suggesting, but you could just snap out of it. They say you could just, just do stuff. Just do stuff, and then you'll forget it. Look, they're well-meaning, and there are things that you can do. There are things that you can do to help yourself move forward. But anyway, this kind of Don't get yourself in situations where people don't understand, and you're just because you'll be in another situation where you're not seen. Don't get yourself in another situation where you're not seen. Get anywhere. Don't get anywhere until you're with people that can see you and validate you and hear you. Those are your people. Don't stop until you find those people. And don't settle for any less than that just because you feel like you need a community. Don't join a community if they don't see you. And yeah, in the end, you will have done it all by yourself. This is something you have to do all by yourself. So find people that can give you strength and lend their strength to you and back you up and hold you up. You'll be in a dependent state for a while after you leave because your partner has conditioned you to be dependent. So you feel almost like you've regressed. You feel almost like you've regressed to a younger part of life. Just be there. Just be there and don't judge yourself for that. That's what you've been trained to do. You have to untrain yourself, and it's going to take a little time. But you'll get there. I promise you'll get there. And if people want to put pressure on you, or if people want to shame you for being a victim, they're not your friends. Get rid of them. They can shame you from way beyond yonder over there. They don't have to be in your immediate vicinity. You have to start guarding your own circle, what you're going to be influenced by now. Only put yourself in the circles that you want to be influenced by. And don't listen to all the garbage. And if someone puts pressure on you, they are not on your side. They don't understand and they're not on your side. How can someone who doesn't understand and who's not on your side, how can they help you? How can they be of help to you? They can't. So anyway, I guess this was about pressure. Thank you for hearing me. Thank you for joining the conversation. If you have any comments, you're welcome to leave them. I'd like to hear from everybody. I don't need to just hear from people that agree with me. I really would like to hear from you, no matter what side of the equation you're on. But anyway, I hope I've given some support and love and kindness to those of you that, are still working out, the process of becoming an individual again. It's almost like you're back in childhood learning to be an individual. That's one of the things you have to do. There's other things you have to do as well, but that is one of them. And, please feel free to reach out if you need someone to talk to, or if you find yourself in this position of having nobody understand. I would be very happy to have a conversation with you and back you up. And as always, thank you so much for listening. I love you. Have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon.